material, because you could, at this day and age, you can go and teach yourself the subject material on Wikipedia or somewhere else on the internet if you really wanted to, right?
Hmm.
That's not all you're getting out of school. People kind of know this. Like, part of, going to a good college is meeting people. That would be part of the. It's not that hidden, but that would be part of the hidden curriculum. But the general idea is actually there are mannerisms, behaviors, code words, phrases, all these things that you learn by being around people of different social classes that indicate what social class you're in, right? That's the hidden curriculum. So there's a word called that shibboleth, which is specifically there was this is it's a Hebrew word that there was some kind of invasion or war with the Jews and somebody else way these thousands of years ago, right? And they were disguised. The enemy was disguised to look like the Hebrews. So the Hebrews had a code word, which is the word shibboleth, that only they could pronounce the right way. So if they met the other people, they had to ask them to say that, and if they couldn't pronounce it, then they killed them because they were enemies, right? But ultimately, what that
What a
means when
word.
people say it,
So how do we
yeah,
know we're pronouncing it right?
it's not about that. The point is that a shibboleth is a word that signifies in group status, right? So buzzwords kind of work like this, but there are other things. It's the way that you communicate, and this is really, really, really hard to learn because you normally aren't taught it. You just pick it up from being
Right.
around people, right? So, an example of hidden curriculum would be something like, I don't know, if you went to some Ivy League school and you happen to be on the polo team, right? You would know stuff about polo, which a normal person doesn't know anything about except for if there's a polo shirt, right? Um, and that
Yeah.
signifies that your parents are rich. Basically, hey, we could at least rent a horse. They could afford polo lessons, which is super expensive, right? Um, so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, and this stuff matters in a way. It depends on how you do it. There are ways to
Is
work
that why
around
people
this.
buy $100 shirt with just a little logo on it
Well,
to
see, so that
signify
is
that?
that is a signifier, but so the ones that we're really talking about are the invisible ones. So here's a fun fact for you. It's a branding fact. The larger a logo is on something, the lower status it is. So if you look at, um, you know, when you think of luxury cars like a BMW, the cheaper your BMW is, the bigger the BMW logo is, because the people who are buying it for the logo are the lowest status people, right? A high status person buys it because they like the car, right? So they do this in marketing. You can actually tell. It's a good example. This is Polo again, right? So if you look at Polo, the company, their stuff that they sell has the tiny Polo logo. The lower you get down the status line of their product line, they have stuff that has tons of Polo logos on it. They're really big. And the worst one you can get, if you go to like Ross or Marshalls or TJ Maxx, they don't all sell Polo. One of them sells US Polo Association or Beverly Hills Polo Club or whatever. And they just have it's like the fist sized, like a knockoff Polo logo,
Right.
because the kind of person buying that doesn't understand the connotation of that. It's like signifying I am of a low social class, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, and so the brands take advantage of this. Obviously, I think one of the
Let it
best
is
examples.
that done by like letting you buy into exclusivity or
Well, no. So this is the thing. So a low status move is to visibly signify your wealth, because if everyone knows a polo costs $100 or something, they're expensive. They're stupid for how it's just a shirt, right? Well, everyone in the world knows that if you have the polo logo on it, you paid more for that shirt than otherwise, right?
like
The problem is
Ray-Bans?
that, yeah, yeah, but Ray Bans are great sunglasses, so I like Ray Bans. I have a pair, but just because they're good, not just like they're metal, they're sturdy, they're polarized. Like, I like them. That's one of the only luxury things I will ever buy. Is I absolutely love sunglasses. I'm very blind outside during the daytime, so but yeah, that'd be a good example. Versus, the really obvious one is like Gucci. Like, Gucci loves to do the tackiest shit in the
Mm-hmm.
world with the giant G's on it, because people buy Gucci for the status. If you ever hear a brand mentioned in rap songs, they have done some kind of marketing campaign Balenciaga didn't get used to mention. It gets mentioned now, right? Um, and now everybody talks about it. That there are marketing campaigns that companies do to associate their brands with, people who are
Influence.
gonna, yeah, but also like I'm gonna spend a lot of money on stupid luxury shit to signify wealth to low status groups of people, right?
Every rap video ever.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Rap fundamentally as a genre is very much, if yeah, the two lowest status genres or two lowest social class genres would be rap and country, right? Where most people say, you've probably heard people say this. I probably would say this, although I actually do like some rap and some country. Most people say, "Oh, I like all kinds of music except rap and country," right? Because they're signifying status with that. So
Hmm.
listening to rap, or like being very much like associated with the notion of that is signifying in-group status for a lower class group. It's of the people, same as country, but you have two different groups of people, which would be like urban and rural, right? But they're the music of lower status groups. And so knowing that, although it's funny
Hmm.
because you would, if you went to like a frat party, they listen to rap, they listen to country, right?
Well,
But there's
they're the
also,
rebellious ones. The
because it's, yeah, because it's performative, right? So if you we have the in the culture that we live in, um, being high status is frowned upon in the popular culture. So you find ways to relate yourself to the normal person by associating with low status things, but you have this innate sense of status that you've learned from growing up rich, so that you can pretend to be a filthy poor, like the one Anna Delvey says, right? But you always have the ability to not be, right? Whereas the low status people may attempt to pretend to be rich, but they're going to fail at that because they haven't learned the hidden curriculum. They don't understand the subtext, right? And this is the thing, you can always tell, like people who you can tell when people don't know how to dress themselves, right? Clothes are informative, right? I like men's fashion both because I like design, but also because it's a form of communication, right? Um, I typically don't wear logos on stuff, mostly because I don't like advertising for other people's companies, and also I find that clothes look worse if you are advertising on them. They shouldn't be advertisements, they are, and I hate that that industry exists at all. Um, but so one of the things I read in I don't remember where I read this, but one of the things I read about, they talk about super, super, super luxury goods, not like designer goods, but real luxury goods. They have invisible ways of signifying value. So this would be the difference between like, like when you think of a fancy watch, you think of a Rolex. There are even fancier watches that actually you have to know about watches to know that it's a fancy watch, right? And so that's kind of the invisible thing. And this is what very, very wealthy people do, as opposed to like new money, nouveau riche. Um, and so it's interesting because in kind of an abstract sense, this is kind of heady, but there's a concept of new money and old money, and what the culture around old money is a culture designed to prevent people from fucking up the money, right? You raise your kids a certain way, you send them to these certain schools, they have very restrictive behavioral patterns and stuff, because the people that stay rich, families that stay rich for a long time, are able to do something that most people can't do. Generally, new money, if you get rich, your kids blow it or your grandkids blow it. Like, it's very difficult to make a family that stays wealthy over time, believe it or not, right? Um, so then you have people like new money, like Mark Zuckerberg, who was, I mean, he was definitely affluent as a kid, but is now like one of the richest people alive. um, he acts like new money because he wears sweatpants or jeans and his t-shirt or whatever, which is a signifier that I'm rich enough that I don't have to care about this stuff. But that signifies something to some people, and he has enough power to get away with it, right? But there's kind of a balance there. But I find this topic interesting because people don't talk about this. It's designed to be unsaid, and acknowledging that it exists is very much like a taboo.
That's really interesting. The new money versus old money, and how that is a generational thing, because it really is how you raise your children plays a big part. And new money kind of changes your whole mentality if you're not the if you're in the position where you suddenly come upon wealth that you've never been able to comprehend versus somebody who's inherited wealth and they've been trained to manage wealth.
Right. Well, think about almost all lottery winners end up broke, right? And this is the big argument. Nobody will like this argument. People don't care if you make this argument, but most most low class people think that if they just had more money, their problems would be solved, and that their problems exist because they don't have money. That's probably mostly not true, right? A lot of that is education. A lot of that is cultural education, which you can't just learn in school, right? Even um, if you're a lower class person and you go to a normal school, but you study really hard and all that stuff, maybe you get into a good college and you learn some of this stuff. But even one of my clients right now is a company that just started called Wise Investigator. Sam, you met Dr. Julia at the last crypto meetup we went to before I moved out. So she is an earth science researcher for the military. She's retiring and starting this company, right? Her company basically is a program for scientists and researchers who are having trouble getting grants for their research because most of these people, and this is actually where I learned the phrase, this is why I've been thinking about it because I've been working with her for the last month. Um, Most of her clients don't understand the hidden curriculum, that there's a way that you present the same information that gets you money as opposed to one that doesn't. And that's similar to what I do for pitches, but it's also a lot of education into mindset and soft skills and stuff like that. And it's crazy because you would think if you're a scientist, you at least have a good education. You're very intelligent, right? Like the average scientist is probably at least one or, you know, at least one standard deviation above the average person in intelligence. So they're going to have a much easier time with life, right? However, they don't learn these things either, right? Some people, honestly, look at Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison he was not an idiot, but he wasn't as smart as Nikola Tesla, but he understood the soft skills and didn't die broke like Tesla did, right? Because Tesla didn't have, he was an immigrant. He didn't have the soft skills either because he also was probably autistic or something, right? Um, but that's the thing. So there's clearly like, if you could learn anything in the world, the thing that would give you the most value would be learning the soft skills, right? Because otherwise, everything else notwithstanding, if you have the soft skills and someone else doesn't, you can outperform them, right? Because you know how to get connections, you know how to get access to capital, access to better networks, more influence, stuff like that. And again, if you have this thing that is arguably the most important thing you could learn, it's not something that anyone even talks about because it's taboo to talk about, right? So one of the things that I've thought about doing that I always thought would be really cool. I was in college for a short amount of time. I really didn't care for it. I did join a fraternity. I really enjoyed that part of it. But what I always thought that would be like, or at least because I never had the intention of doing that, but I ended up there and I did it. So what I thought it was going to be was a lot more of this kind of stuff where you're like learning all these rules and things. There's one thing that they do that is this will explain how people learn soft skills, right? Or um, the hidden curriculum, right? There's a game called Buffalo. The way that the game of Buffalo works is if you ever hold your drink in your right hand and somebody catches you and says Buffalo, you have to finish your drink. That seems like kind of a stupid game. However, if you hold your drink in your right hand, your hand is wet and cold. So if you ever go to give people a handshake, then you give them a wet, cold handshake and it makes you less likable, right? So if you always hold your drink in your left hand, you're never going to have that problem. That's a really interesting thing, right? You have this stupid game, it's a drinking game, but it's teaching you a really, really critical social skill without ever telling you that it's doing that, right? I found that to be fascinating. Um, I don't know how many other things there are like this, but there certainly are other things like this. And so think about the difference in just knowing that. Like if you're the guy at parties that's always giving people cold, wet handshakes, people are just not going to like you, and you'll never know why. But they're going to like you less, right? If you give bad handshakes, like maybe your dad teaches you how to give a good handshake, hey, like have a firm grip, look him in the eye, that kind of stuff. Maybe they don't, right? A lot of people, especially in this day and age, are growing up fatherless. They're growing up without strong male role models, so they don't learn these things at all. And then you're basically set up for failure. Like if I think basically one of the worst things in the world, if you grow up without a father, your odds of like being a violent criminal or in jail or having mental health issues is super, super high. And so there's this underserved market of young boys who are growing up without fathers in their life. They're not learning these things. And then they're basically in a pipeline straight to having their lives be shit, and causing problems for other people. So one of the things I always thought would be cool that I will hopefully at some point in my life I'll have the time and resources to do this. But what if you actually had a school that was outside of normal school where you went and people taught you this stuff? Like, hey, we're gonna take you to a stylist and we're gonna analyze the shape of your head and figure out a good haircut for you, right? I'm not don't judge me. My hair, I'm growing my hair out, so it looks like shit right now. But it's not fully dry. It'll get worse as the day goes on. But like, hey, we're going to teach you how to dress yourself so you're not communicating that you're an idiot, right? Like if you know, um, wear patterns that don't match. There's a lot of rules with suits too, and there's a really good website called Art of Manliness for all the dudes that are listening. If you ever look, you want to learn how suits work, go read that website's amazing. They have a lot of dude skills. It's really great. Um, but so for example, like when you're wearing a suit jacket, if you have two buttons, you only button one. If you have three buttons, you only button two. You never button all three or all two, right? If you never button all the buttons on the suit jacket because part of that is designed to give you like a V shape, which makes you look more imposing and more and serious. So things like this, nobody teaches you them, right? You would never know this. And so then you have people like that guy from Pennsylvania who just got elected to Senate, who is not a guy who wears suits normally, and he wears really shitty suits. He makes himself look like very low class, and he is, and that's part of his angle, right? He is like a working class dude, so that plays in some regard, but it's going to make people think he's an asshole in Washington, right? Um, Jordan Peterson. If you ever see Jordan Peterson before he got the publicist manager people, he dressed like a dad college professor, and now he dresses like honestly a little bit too crazy for my taste, but at least he's wearing nice clothes that fit him, right? He is wearing some crazy shit though more recently, um
I think he
but
just
it's
took this concept to the extreme.
yeah, well, so part of the thing is he got I was watching some interviews more recently because everyone was shitting on him for his crazy suits that he's wearing. If you want to look up Jordan Peterson weird suit, I'm sure you can find several. But so some suit company said, "Hey, we want to make you 12 suits for the 12 rules for life," and they're like weird. Like one of them is half red and half blue. It's a very nice suit though, outside of the color contrast, which is strange, and I wouldn't do it. One of them is like it's got like I don't know, they're very weird, but I think that for
He
them
has a
was a great
Batman
marketing move.
suit.
Does he? Of course he
What?
does. I don't know. He's got weird suits, um, but yeah, that's the thing is like when you understand, like nobody tells you that clothes are a communication mechanism. They say your clothes look bad or your clothes look good. You look nice or you look bad, right? But they are, right? There's a whole language, a fully as robust of a language as English that exists with how you wear clothes, and that communicates all kinds of stuff about you. It communicates what you're like. It communicates what like your social class. It communicates what you're trying to do. Like if you go to a store and you're wearing a hoodie with the hood up and sweatpants, you look like you just have to go grab something and you're trying to get out of there, and you clearly don't give a shit if you run into anyone because you're trying to avoid people, right? You look like just like you don't give a shit. If you go to a job interview in a tuxedo, like in Step Brothers, you look like an idiot, right? Even though it's technically a nice thing to wear, but you look really stupid because you're overdressed. And even just being over or underdressed could be a strategic thing that you do, right? I always try to be just slightly underdressed. So I try to dress really well and then down dress it like just a little bit to let people know I'm not taking myself as seriously as everyone else in the room because I'm already too serious by default, right? One of the things I like to do this is wear Hawaiian shirts because technically they're button-up shirts with a collar, but they're also much more casual than other things. So you can wear Hawaiian shirts with nice
Oh my
pants and
gosh,
nice shoes.
I gotta show you this. I'll post it in chat in a minute. My dad
Yeah, I
gave
want
me a
to
shirt.
see. Oh yeah, see, so that the blue and red one. Honestly, I will say that is as a stylistic choice, that is actually kind of a cool suit. I don't think he's pulling it off, but someone can pull it off, and it's a nice looking suit. Um, it's also double breasted, which is a very uptight kind of thing. So it's weird that it's like a super fancy but also uptight suit. But that's a good example of down dressing something but down dressing it far too much because it's very hard to take him seriously in a two-tone suit. And people gave him tons of shit about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think for most people, it's like becoming aware that this secret language exists, not just clothes, mind you, but the secret language of status and power and in-group, out-group stuff, class, right? It exists, and you can learn how to be better at this. You're never going to learn how to be a kid that was raised rich, but you can learn how to not stick out and not identify yourself as somebody who doesn't belong in the room that they're in, right? Because that's the problem. If you go, you go to a fancy dinner party and people are talking about fancy music, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like Kesha, right? Then you've identified yourself as someone with terrible taste and probably not very educated. Like you wouldn't go to the opera house and then start talking about fucking Lil Wayne, right? That would identify you as a pleb. But that's it. It's like it's tricky, and there's a whole set of this information that you can't really just get directly. You have to like kind of hunt for it, and you have to kind of learn it obliquely. But if you learn about the hidden curriculum, you dramatically improve your prospects in life. You learn how to professionalism. Honestly, like being professional is a form of this, because a lot of people don't even know how to do that. That's an interesting jacket. I like it. I like it.
That's great.
But are you sharing it? I'm sharing. I will share mine.
In co-working.
Yeah, let me grab. Hold on.
Or in this lounge chat for this video call. All right, I gotta go get mine too, then, guys. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. So I have my go-to gray pea coat. It's good for all seasons. It's a perfect jacket. You can wear it with jeans. You can wear it with dress pants. You can wear it with a suit. Works with everything. And then a nice neutral scarf as well. Very, very flexible. Works for everything. It depends on what you're trying to convey, right? I mean, it never hurts to be well dressed. It will literally never hurt you to be well dressed unless you're going to the beach or something, right? But also, I guess well dressed is context dependent. You will literally never suffer from being well dressed in any situation, although that depends on where you're at, right? On the beach, well dressed might mean not having the $10 floral print pants, but if you could pull it off, you could pull it off, you know. Michelangelo may be able to expand on this one, but there's an Italian concept called sprezzatura that is the best.
Which one?
Sprezzatura.
Can you write it down? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Co-working chat, you can see my
Yep.
my suit.
Garrett.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god.
My dad gave me this. I was opening up the box or the bag of clothes he gave me.
That's a good suit, Michelangelo. I knew you would be well dressed. If you're Italian and poorly dressed, I would have to unfriend you.
I think I have to button one more.
My
It doesn't even button.
My grandpa's a doctor, and he always wore Hawaiian shirts to work every single day.
What kind of doctor?
General practitioner.
So that would be the doctor I want to see, because he's fun, right?
Yeah.
Like it's great. We're gonna have a good time. That guy isn't telling me that he is not stuffy. He's gonna be fun to be around. He's got good bedside manner. Like that's what he's telling us with that, right? If you're the doctor that, so for example, my girlfriend had a surgery, and there's the surgeon who did the surgery. He was like the number one in his field. He's just an old guy. He wears what you wear as a doctor, right? Normal clothes. But he had a guy who was like training under him, and that guy wore like super decked out, like nice leather shoes, really nice suit, all that kind of stuff. And obviously he's like super competitive. You could tell he's like trying so hard to get the role of the other doctor. You know what I mean? He was good. He's a good doctor.
Like it depends on where you are, because like I'm really rural, and so you'll have a doctor show up in a pair of cowboy boots and a pair of Carhartts one day if he has to get called into work.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's context matters, right? So that's obviously, if you're a doctor in Texas, you would probably do better wearing cowboy boots. If you're a doctor in Maine and you're wearing cowboy boots, people are going to think you're an idiot, right? But that's what you're indicating with clothes is I understand the situation that I'm in, right? Being well dressed means I know how to dress. I understand the social rules for what is occurring, right? you go to a black tie event and you wear a blue suit with a necktie, you're an idiot, right? If you go to a black tie event and you wear white tie, most people don't know what white tie is, but that's like coattails and a top hat, and like the people don't wear that. The only time you're supposed to wear that is if you're meeting with the Queen of England. So if you ever see the president do that, or like stupid, super formal things, you wear white tie. But white tie looks ridiculous because people haven't worn it regularly in 100 years. I'll post a picture. Michelangelo, I sent the word in there if you want to check that out. But basically, sprezzatura means like effortlessness. It's like basically whenever you there's a similar concept actually in Zen, so I'll tell a story, right? You have white tie?
What white tie?
Look, do you have a white tie, or you have like white tie means like black tie? Hold on, I'll show you what I mean. If you have this, I'm going to
Okay,
be
okay.
flabbergasted. Because it's not normal. Nobody needs to do this ever.
See the co-working chat.
White tie is literally, it looks like people from the 30s. You wear it like to galas and stuff. It's silly looking. Honestly, I wish people never wore this, but I'm sending it in the chat.
Sure.
So white tie has like the weird little like
Oh, it's
the
me.
vest that has tails on it. And you wear like you see what I mean? Nobody wears that anymore. It's very uncommon.
Why are you guys putting it in there and not the channel?
Because Michelangelo was in the wrong chat.
I was literally thinking of him. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, wool coats. Wool coats are always good. You can never go wrong with pea coats, or any kind of like formal looking coats. They're good for everything. But so yeah, sprezzatura. I was going to tell a Zen story. That's why. So there's a story about this guy who is, let's say he's a noble Japanese guy in the 1600s or something, right? He spends, let's say hundreds of thousands of dollars and whatever that time was. He spends many pounds of gold to build this tea garden for his house, right? He brings in trees from certain areas. He imports stone. He just like details the shit out of it, and it's like flawlessly perfect, right? And he has people over to kind of break it in, and everyone's like, whatever, it's okay. And he's really upset. So he never goes in the garden again for a year, right? He doesn't want to look at it. He wasted all his money. Nobody liked it. And, the leaves start to fall over it. The grass starts to grow over it. Finally, he has some people come over for whatever reason, and they look outside and they see this garden, and now it's perfect because it's not perfect, right? And he understands something important. He's enlightened by this, right? That's the concept, basically, the Italian concept of sprezzatura, which is that it's the little things that you do that are slightly wrong that make things correct. If you do things totally perfect, you look like you're trying too hard, and looking like you're trying too hard is the number one way to have people not like you, right? Well, no, there's a lot of ways, but that's a huge thing that indicates this person isn't doing this authentically, right? And that turns people off a lot. So sprezzatura, if you ever look, it's weird. I don't know why this is a thing, but like old Italian dudes, they have the Italian Fashion Week, and old dudes will just go hang out and wear their nice clothes. Let me try and find a example of this. This is a pretty good example of sprezzatura, where you look like you're not trying to do anything, right? That's the case. Sprezzatura is looking like you're not trying too hard, right? But it requires you to try even harder to back up from it, but it makes it look like you understand what you're supposed to be doing, which is not looking like a try hard, which is always bad, right? So yeah, that would be something to look into. I think everyone should learn more about that, because that's how you dress really well, is actually not dressing as well. Something about,
how do you spell that?
sprezzatura. Sprezzatura.
All right.
Don't tell me anything, Michelangelo. I don't want to hear it. So
my lips are sealed. Good pronunciation.
So yeah, so but so the reason why I think this works, this is my theory, right?
Studied carelessness.
That is a good definition. So the reason why I think this works, a lot of being like understanding social boundaries is knowing what the rule is, right? When you know the rules really well, you know how to break the rules without breaking the rules, right? So, for example, one of the things I like to do, like I said, I like to go to events where you would normally wear a tie, and then I just don't wear a tie, and I'll unbutton a button or two, right? Because if somebody's going to hold that against me, I don't really give a shit, right? If you're going to get really uptight about the fashion rules, sorry, just like we're not going to get along. But on the other hand, being slightly underdressed but appropriately dressed makes you relatable, right? So I'm acknowledging, actually, I do know what the rule is. I wore everything else right. But I'm going to back off of this to let you know that I just don't take this as seriously as you, right? Whereas if you see people and they're wearing like it's a three-piece suit and it's perfectly buttoned and they have everything manicured and stuff like that, you look like a tryhard. So that's what I think it is. It's
especially if you're 18 and at a networking event.
Well, yeah, and then if you look every single 18-year-old wearing a suit looks like it's the first time they're wearing a suit and they got it from their dad. Like it doesn't fit right. It's long. Their tie is too long or too short. They're wearing like a dumb, like a bad belt, or their belt doesn't match their shoes. You know what I mean? Like that's you know when you see an 18-year-old in a suit that they're an 18-year-old in a suit.
Yeah. And I think it kind of ties back into that same concept of man, I completely just lost the idea I had. I got distracted by something. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, I'm going to post an example of what a bad suit looks like.
Dad break
This is
strikes
John Cena several years ago wearing a bad suit.
Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, the 55-year-old man at the event wearing a t-shirt with a meme on it. That is a great example of you don't want to be that guy. It's always like dads that go to networking events that just don't do anything serious, that obviously don't go to networking events all the time, and then they're really poorly dressed. They just look like, okay, that's probably not a serious person to talk to. So, but also that can signal different things, right? So if you're going to go have beer with the guys, you probably don't want to dress super fancy because that would be weird. So it's about, well, yeah, that's the catch, right? Though if they have giant companies they're already rich and they don't give a shit, that's different. For a normal person, if you're not already rich, you have to learn how to play the game, right? But it's different in tech. I will say that in tech, wearing a suit is a faux pas, right? In tech, you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt because that's the way that they all did it, because it's a rebellion against the business culture that Silicon Valley did. They said, hey, actually, we're not like you. We're going to wear jeans and t-shirts or whatever. So it depends on what industry you're in. But
what about the work from home culture? Do you think there's going to be a new revolution where people just wear boxers and then a suit?
It's athleisure, right? Like nice joggers, neutral or pastel or like basics, like this sort of shirt, right? Like this works for all my meetings, and it's basically like it's a step up from clothes that I would sleep in, right?
Anything better than what your PJs or a bathrobe?
Yeah, but
a bathrobe's pushing it, guys. I've tried that; it just doesn't work.
They don't wear any pants. Yeah. But again, I'm giving general advice for people to kind of understand, hey, this is a way to be better off. If you're in tech, you probably already know. The problem with tech too is it's a lot of people are like engineers that have no concept of fashion skills, so they just wear the same shit they wore in high school, which is like jeans and meme t-shirts. People are not going to take you as seriously if you do that, but also if you're a coder, people don't really need to take you seriously for you to have a job. But if you want to get promoted, you should probably have people take you more seriously, in which case you're better off dressing better, right?
Got to play the game.
In games, you can wear a t-shirt, toss a jacket on it. Yeah. Well, t-shirts aren't bad, but that's the thing. It's like, what kind of t-shirt? Like, are you trying to appeal to teenagers? You can wear like band t-shirts, Are you in a metal band? You can wear band t-shirts. I used to have a bunch of metal t-shirts. I also like them. They just totally ruins the vibe, because with the tattoos, I look way too edgy, and I'm trying to go for like only slightly edgy, right? I shaved my balls for that. So, but it depends, right? It depends on who your audience is. So I'm mostly talking about like professional and semi-professional settings. I'm also leaving out tech because tech is different, but again, there's a way to dress up tech if you wear like nice fitted clothes and neutral colors, or not crazy patterns, right? You could do patterns if you know what you're doing, but like, guess what? I have three versions of the sweater. One of them is red. Two of them are black. One of them is a V-neck, and one of them is a crew neck like this, right? So because it works for everything, I can match this with all the clothes that I own, and then I don't have to worry about like, that's it. I have like 5 colors that I wear, which is like black, gray, blue, navy blue, this color red, and like green, not forest green, the olive green, right? Because they all match, they all work with everything. But for me, it also, like, as a pale person, I can't wear like super colorful stuff. Also, it's not my vibe, with the exception of Hawaiian shirts, because I do like those. But part of that is, I guess, that's kind of knowing yourself, and not everyone can wear the same thing. Like skin tone, hair color, that affects what you can wear effectively. Like I can't really do tan, unfortunately. As much as I really want one of those tan coats, it just doesn't work that well with me. But if you ever see like black or Hispanic dudes, they can really rock a nice tan coat. A camel coat is what they call them, but it just, I'm too pale for that. It makes me look more pale, right, by comparison. So but yeah, that's the thing, there's a lot of resources for this kind of stuff, clothes, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction if anyone has specific questions. If you're female, I'm probably not able to help you as much, because I really don't women can get away with a lot cooler clothes than men can. Men's fashion is pretty tame and boring.
You call this tame
But
and
also,
boring?
I think women are naturally better at this than dudes are, because they raise dudes to be bad at clothes. And if you ever look at, like, either people like, hey, your mom dresses you, or you dress yourself, and both of those are insults, right? Like, people dress themselves really poorly.
You call this lame and boring? Tame and boring? This is far from tame, sir. This is wild, dangerous, and adventuresome.
Stand up. I would say, that's like I'm going on vacation Hawaiian shirt. That isn't necessarily I'm going to wear this to a meeting.
Pretty
Hawaiian
sure he
shirt
actually got this in Hawaii and gave it to me. Did I wear that to the meeting? Of course. No, I did not wear it to my meeting. I put it on literally when they were talking about intense, like wild dressing. I went and grabbed this. I thought we were showing off our wildest thing, but apparently it was.
So I contracted with this company. It was a super small clothing company, and she ended up closing. And so she just gave me like a bunch of the clothes.
That's
and
nice.
Some of the most wild. It's that red and white and blue jacket that I posted. I have another really good one.
I like that one.
I really like that. I like.
See, those are tasteful though. My dad gives me like all the clothes that he finds distasteful, and at that point, it's like already down below. I just can't wear the stuff he gives me, and I feel bad.
I have slowly been trying to teach my dad how to dress for many years. He was better at it when he was younger, because I think clothes were better. But as time has moved forward, it's like they just make men's clothes are so bad. It's not something people take seriously, because we don't have a culture for it. Because like the popular culture is you dress like streetwear, right? Like what any popular musician wears, right? But if you look at people like who's the British soccer player that's really famous, the dude, the one that's married to a Spice Girl,
David Beckham.
Yeah, Dave Beckham is extremely well dressed. That's a great example of how to do the whole spectrum. He can dress like a normal person and grungy. He could dress really nice. That if you had to pick one person, just be David Beckham. Like, he nails it. But I think it's because his wife is a model. She might dress him or something, but whatever. That's a really very well dressed person. Who's another good example of this? I was trying to think of somebody that's always really well dressed. Peterson had a moment in between. Right now, he's gone too far, but when they first started dressing him up, he was doing really good, and now he's crazy with the fashion. It's bad. Don't do Peterson in his prime a couple years ago. That's a good example of like older men's fashion. Trying to think of really well dressed people. The problem is when people are in fashion, the industry, they dress like fucking idiots. They dress like really, really bad intentionally, because it's about like being creative and stuff. But you really, if you're a man trying to be presentable, crazy things are not helping you, right? You're just really You have to know what you're doing to be able to get away with a crazy thing, and you always have to dress it down, right? So if Sam wore nice normal pants, nice normal shoes, I honestly that one is too much of a vacation shirt, Sam. It's a little bit
I was like,
big.
be careful what you say here, because I will show up at the next
No,
event
I was
wearing
trying to
this.
think of how to dress that down, but you can't really,
No,
right? So,
it's literally like it doesn't even have another button. It's just like
oh hell yeah, I'm here for it. No, that's the way they should. Frankly, spread collar needs to come back. That's what you're talking about. Spread collar, where the collar is like big and flat and
yeah.
open. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. I like doing that. It was cool in the '70s. All the collars used to be giant, so
Feel like
not that big, but
feel like it needs to be like that. What just happened? Oh well, excuse me, live stream. We just lost complete connection there.
because I'm very selective with them.
What
But
the heck just happened?
no, yeah, again, that's a good one for the beach, right? That would not
Yeah.
be inappropriate at a tiki bar or somewhere that's like clearly on vacation, right?
Right.
But it's a
I'm
good shirt.
definitely I want to learn more. I'd be really cool to have like I don't know, to do like a dress for success class or something.
Oh yeah, hell
And
yeah! I love talking about this. I never get to talk about this with anyone.
yeah, we
So
could play dress up on live stream. I'll go out, I'll live stream
mm,
from a suits shop.
yeah, I don't know
I
about all
would love
that,
to
but
do more like actual out of the house, out of the office kind of streaming where we like go somewhere and interview someone or do something fun.
mhm.
Thoughts from everybody would be appreciated, but not right now.
I mean, I would be down to do like a professional, like how to dress yourself seminar or something.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Thoughts in chat? I really need to take this off before I turn my camera back on. It's hurting my own eyes.
It is very Triba themed though, so
It is very Triba themed. That is true. It does kind of look like the background of Triba. I just
It
wish I
also
could put a
looks like
filter on it.
it also looks like the average American tourist.
Yes, exactly. And I'm getting the dad bod to match too. It's slowly happening. And that's the other thing. All his shirts are like they don't not fit, but they also fit a little too well. I feel like I'm fitting into them as a dad. Like, oh yes, I must get to that level of dad bod. Anyways, we are coming to the end of this specific session. Want to tease Tribe of Gold launch party on the 11th as well. Garrett, you're going to be there, right? Meeting some people, and we'll talk about Philosophy Club as well.
when? Wait, when?
The 11th at
Let's find
111.
out.
At 111.
At 1:11. What time on the 11th?
111.
What? Okay. Can you send me a calendar invite for that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will definitely. That will be 111 at 111, and we'll have some of the people, our core service providers who have been working with us there to explain what they do, and you can meet them, find out how we can help you through Triba's ecosystem. That's really the special thing about this is the people. It's not the Discord itself; it's the people here. Y'all are amazing. We thank you for your support, as always, for showing up, participating, asking your questions, and being honest and authentic with Triba. It comes back around. It really does. We appreciate all of you. Check out our events channel, and we'll hopefully see you on the 11th. If not before then, we got stuff. Tomorrow's our like marketing, social media workshop, and Friday we're doing game development with Zach. He's building out Jade and the Fog of Fate in Unreal Engine using Blender models and 3D animations. He's showing us all the back end of how he's making these animations, and it's really, really, really awesome. Even if you're not into game development, definitely one of my favorite times to watch a project come to life. He's been working on it for a few months. So yeah, Garrett, thanks again, man, for walking us through the art of dressing and, more importantly, the subtext and the hidden curriculum behind some of these class, I don't even like inclusivity groups. It really matters your presentation in a business world because you have to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely it makes more of a difference than you think. You really should, like, if you do nothing else, learn how to dress yourself. But all the other stuff, it's just like once you know that it exists, um, it really will make your life easier. Like it exists, it affects you whether you pay attention to it or not. So you may as well learn to deal with it.
yeah, yeah.
But it's not that hard. It's just not something that people ever think about, right? So
Mm-hmm. Think about it, guys. And if you want to have a dress for success class or something with Garrett, maybe even more of like a business etiquette. I don't know. That feels a little too cliche, but
I mean, we can, just call it dress for success. I'm down.
cool. We'll figure out a time, probably February. We got a lot planned out for the next month, so stay tuned, guys. And that's all for today. We'll wrap up the stream and catch you tomorrow. Peace out,
Hey,
Tribo.
y'all. Thanks for coming out. Bye.
Bye, everyone.